Wait for about 20 to 30 seconds. Let's see if this is showing up on Twitter first before we get started. See on my page. Yep, we're on Twitter. Perfect. So you can retweet the link from my page and it'll be on your profile.
All right.
More seconds here and we will get started. Here. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. Guys, welcome back to episode 96 of Titos&Chicken, your unofficial South Carolina Gamecocks podcast, coming at you with a low country state of mind. I got Mr. Lake Morris with me this morning, man. How you doing?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. Guys, you know I follow the baseball team big time. But this guy here, he's the same way. We were both obviously very disappointed in the season. There's a lot more of us, I'm sure, but we just wanted to kind of recap and just give our postseason chances. Tournament starts this Tuesday. Actually, we will be facing 7th seed Florida at I want to say it's 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, that's 2 p.m. I think, depending on how long the first game runs. But yeah, 2 p.m. is slot time for that one.
Okay, gotcha. First of all, though, guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, rate. Please help us continue to get this podcast out there. That would be greatly appreciated. Got to give a shout out to my friends at Gamecock Bourbon Society as well. Give these guys a follow. A great group of people. Got to do a little event with them last month at Bourbon, downtown Columbia, and it was a great time. Very great time. So give these guys a follow, please, guys. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this episode. I think Lake and I are going to try to stay as positive as we can. Might be a little hard with how the season's gone, but we'll see what we can do here.
Maybe fair is the better word instead of positive.
Fair is the better word. I do like that better. 27-27 overall, 13-17 in conference. You would say one of the worst seasons in recent history.
But strangely, not the worst. Not the worst under Kingston. The 2019 season takes the cake. That team went 8-22. That team went 8-22 in the SEC. So,
wow.
You know, it's bad, but it's not the worst. But I don't think that's the bar we want to start judging things by, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Best way to put this, I would say a very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type baseball team. You kind of never knew what you were going to get, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because this team has shown where they can play very, very well, very good baseball against high-quality opponents. But then they also have games like against USC Upstate and Presbyterian College where they just look like they're completely not deserving to be on the field.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what goes to that, if that goes to coaching and preparation or just mental makeup of the team. But that is, those midweek games may end up what costs them postseason chances.
Yeah. And what was that? Our RPI is pretty weak for the most part, I think.
Yeah, it's not great. And that's also going to hurt them. But usually you hope that the SEC schedule can kind of balance that out for you. But then you're also playing an SEC schedule, and that's kind of where you're living and dying right now.
Yeah. I mean, like going back to the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde reference there, you beat number 1 Texas in the beginning of the season. You beat number 6 Vanderbilt, who Vanderbilt has struggled this season, but they're still going to be in the tournament. And you beat number 25 Ole Miss. But like you brought up earlier, you lose to the Citadel, you lose to PC, you lose to Xavier, and you lose to USC Upstate. It's just like, come on, like what? I understand it's baseball, I really do, but at the same time, like it was hard. It was very hard. So, And to
And,
go
and
2-6. Oh, go ahead.
and to be fair, Ray Tanner did not win every midweek game that he coached either. You
Okay,
know,
yeah,
and I mean that I believe his team, one of his teams, lost to Francis Marion the year they won. They went to Omaha. So
yeah,
you know, but that was like the only bad slip up they had in the midweeks that year. They didn't have 4 and 5 like we've seen under Kingston now the last few
yeah.
years.
So, okay, so in-state schools, we went 2-6 against in-state schools this year.
Mm-hmm.
How would you compare that to previous years? Was this one of the worst?
Against other in-state schools,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, against other in-state. Yeah,
Yeah, usually, if you look historically, they've done pretty well, except against Wofford, surprisingly. For
okay,
whatever reason, they tend to lose more against Wofford than anyone else. But
yeah,
this year, just seemed like they just could not seem to get it together in midweeks.
yeah,
And, that's a small piece of the pie. But again, like we said, that's games where you need to win the ones you're supposed to win
yeah,
majority of the time because maybe winning your midweeks isn't going to get you to the postseason, but it can't. But losing them can keep you out.
yeah.
So
And that's probably going to be our situation here at the end of the at the end of the tournament to see if we even have a chance to make it, to the
yeah,
big tournament. Excuse me.
yeah.
So, this is a pretty open question here. Where do you even start pointing fingers? I mean, I know one person where we can start, but we'll save that for later. But
Um,
yeah, where do you start here?
I think you first have to look at offensive consistency.
Okay.
Um, there were times this year, like we said, where they batted pretty well. And I know the excuse this year is that the pitching staff had some key injuries, and it did, and that
Yeah.
does kind of change how you have to do things. But a lot of games this year, the offense has given them nothing when the pitching staff actually pitched okay. Um, if your pitching staff is going to give up 5 runs, that's not great. But if you're only going to score one, not many pitching staffs are going to win with that production behind them. You
Not at
have
all.
to give them something.
Yeah.
And there are times this year, especially when the staff was struggling, that they needed some help. And that was supposed to be the area that was okay coming into this year on offense.
Yeah.
Um, but again, and I'm not sure how you fix consistency at the plate outside of just drilling in a mindset to where you're going to be either a bunch of grinders or you're going to be, driving the ball deep. And
Yeah.
we didn't have either of those this year, really.
No, we were last season. We were the what? How can I say this? The whatever. Oh my God, there was a good word for it, but I can't remember it. But we were hitting home runs at a premium last year. You
They
know.
were. They hit 80 home runs last year, and that was the peak Kingston season in
Yeah,
home runs was 80.
and I think we
And
have what Eister has 10, I think, this season, and Josiah has 15.
yeah,
Yeah, they're lead. Okay, and outside of that, I mean, I don't think anyone else comes close.
no, I know Wimmer's in the high double digits, but outside of
Okay,
that, everyone's kind of in the lower single digit range. And
okay, Wimmer. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
him. But
but yeah, this was, surprisingly, this was the best year for home runs under Kingston. And
wow,
no, that last year. I'm sorry,
last year was yeah,
last year.
last year. Yeah, no, you're good.
Misread my stats. This year was the worst in home runs. So
Yeah,
this
and
year
it's
they had 58 as a team. 58.
wow.
Um, so this was surprisingly though, this was not the lowest total run production from a Kingston team. That
Yeah,
one goes to the 2019 team, the one that was historically bad in the conference. They had 308 runs total that year.
okay.
Um, but I do think, to be fair to this year's team, losing Wes Clark was going to dip your home runs regardless because
Oh yeah,
that guy was, well, basically he was either a home run or an out.
home run or a strikeout. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for sure. There was no in between with Wes Clark.
no. So when you lose that type of power in your lineup, even if it's just one guy, that's going to be hard to replace every year.
Yeah.
Because hate to tell people, there's not a Justin Smoke type guy on this lineup.
No.
There's just one that's a testament to just how good Justin Smoke was, and also just kind of how things have digressed, I guess, the last 10 years.
Agreed. Yeah, that's for sure. You brought up injuries to the pitching staff earlier. Big guys that we lost, Bosnick obviously being one of them. Losing Sweat, Hicks,
Yeah.
Phillips. Excuse me. We have lost some key guys. That's for sure.
Yep. I mean,
So
Bosnick was a career 2.5 ERA guy, and that was a guy you could look at to be either a weekend starter or even your closer, and that's a big role. And then that had a domino effect where maybe a guy like Noah Hall would be your primary innings eater out of the bullpen. Well, now he's got to elevate to your starting lineup, and now you have a huge hole in your bullpen. So
yeah,
that's just how that domino effect. And then losing James Hicks, I know he had kind of a rough start, but I really feel like he could have settled into that, Saturday role and at least maybe giving you 6 to 7 quality innings an outing.
yeah. No, agreed. The injuries definitely killed us. That's for sure. But I mean, still, we had so many pitchers with underwhelming seasons. A lot of these guys being seniors, Wines, Cone, Gilreath, Esposito, all guys who are upperclassmen who couldn't get the job done. It was flat out embarrassing watching them sometimes pitch.
Yeah, that's very discouraging to see, especially with your older guys. You would think that they're in the program this long, they can at least give you consistent strike zones. But there are some games where they could not throw a strike.
No, you're exactly. I don't think there was one outing that Esposito had this season that was a positive outing.
I can't recall one. And then a guy like Gilreath, who is a talented pitcher. I mean, people forget he was a steal to get when he came out of high school.
Yeah.
Out of Northwestern. He was a solid pitcher. With him, it's just been consistency. He'll have one outing where he actually looks pretty good. And then he'll have another outing where he cannot throw strikes and he'll give up a 3-run home run. And, I know pitching is hard. It is very hard to do. But at this level, and when you've been in a program that long, you kind of don't have the excuse of the moment being too big for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that goes back to just having a new pitching coach this year and not quite being comfortable and trusting him or anything like that. But this pitching staff, regardless of how this year goes, tournament wise or not, there's got to be a lot of change for next season.
A lot of change. You're exactly right. It's sad because we had to depend on just freshmen because, like I mentioned earlier, the upperclassmen couldn't do it. They couldn't get the job done. When Gilreath came in yesterday with the 4-1 lead we had against Florida, I was just sitting there like, oh my God, not this. This is not going to happen. But he did good. He's been doing better towards the end of the season, for sure. The other guys, I can't really say anything for them.
Yeah, I thought actually Coyne pitched okay his last two outings. That Friday game against Florida, that was a mess. And I don't think it mattered who they threw out there pitching that game because that Florida lineup is stacked. And when they are focused and dialed in, it's hard to find an easy out in that batting lineup that they have. I don't know how they have struggled this much in conference play after watching them this weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy that we're going to play them again Tuesday, But I mean, it is what it is. So, but
and to be fair to Coach Justin Parker, only starting Sanders for one inning yesterday, that took some guts, but that was the right call.
The smartest move you made all year.
Yeah, because regardless of how that game ended, I think they were set to play Florida no matter what. So, Why burn a starter out in a game that really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, gotta give credit where it's due. We can criticize him a lot, and he has earned a lot of that criticism. But when he does well, we have to call him out. We have to praise him for when he makes a good decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. Talking about the pitching staff again, outside of Noah Hall and Will Sanders, is there another pitcher on this staff that you were confident in when he came out onto the mound? Would you say Cade?
I want to say Cade Austin,
Yeah.
but even then, he had a few outings where he didn't quite look up to snuff. Matt Becker, until
Okay.
the last few weeks, I had a lot of confidence in, but for whatever reason, his slider lost a lot of its bite it had at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Parker kept calling sliders for him to throw, and every time he threw that slider, it got killed.
Kill.
So
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going like, maybe you'd stop calling the slider.
Yeah. Agreed.
And
I feel like I feel like Becker and Gilreath had the opposite. Like Becker started off hot. I felt he was solid.
Yeah.
But then he kind of went down just a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And Gilreath obviously started off slow, but then he got a little hot. Well, not hot, but he started doing a little better towards the end of the season.
And to be fair to Matt, he should not have to be in this situation at this point in his career.
Not at all. Not at all.
Ideally, he would either have redshirted this year or played a lot of midweek innings where he could learn and, develop a little bit more. But he got thrown into the fire along with Aiden Hunter this year, who I thought pitched very well for freshmen.
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to the injuries and your older guys not stepping up, where you have freshmen who are playing a little outside their depth. And I think at this point of the year, you also started seeing that fatigue and that freshman wall hit because they don't pitch this much in high school at this intensity at the high school level. And they got here, and I think you're starting to see some arm fatigue, mostly from them.
Well, and like you said, they shouldn't have been put in this position. But like we talked about earlier, the upperclassmen just weren't getting the job done. I mean, so we had to go to them. We had no choice. So
now, if you want to try to spin it for a positive, it's going to do wonders for them for next season.
Oh, yeah.
Because now they're going to be way more experienced, and if they keep progressing, the pitching staff next season actually looks like it could be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. That's just something we're going to have to wait and see. The situation with Bosnick, though, will he return next season or no?
If I'm his parent or his agent, I'm saying no. Okay. You're going to go to the draft because you already had a major arm. He had an arm injury, correct?
Yes.
See, if I'm him, I'm going to take my chances in the draft this year because, there's only so many throws in an arm you have. And when you start getting injuries, those amount of throws you have left get cut. I really feel bad for him because it feels like he got drafted the previous year, I believe, and decided to come back. And you hate to see that for guys because now you're not entirely sure where or if he's going to get drafted with that arm injury.
Yeah, that could hurt him, which sucks because we know the type of pitcher he is.
Yeah, selfishly, I'd love to have him back for one more year, but out of abundance of caution for him, I would strongly suggest try and pro ball next year and just moving on from this because, man, this could have really hurt his earning potential for the future.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you on that. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the pitching. Let's go to the offense. Let's go to the bats here.
Yeah.
Who can I start off here with? Seitler. Someone I wish we needed him earlier in the year. We needed him badly. Yeah. But he caught fire towards the end of the year. I think 15 home runs. He
I think
has.
that sounds about right. Between
Yeah,
14 and 15, somewhere in
14,
there.
yeah, right around there. Um, wish we could have had that production earlier in the year, like I said, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Wimmer, a very streaky hitter. I know you can sit here and talk about Wimmer all day. Uh, I've never seen a guy swing at pitches in the opposite batter's box. It drives me crazy. Like it really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Just to go back to Seidler, something interesting. If you watched earlier in the year, he was choking up on his bat to start the season, and
Okay.
he was approaching more as a contact hitter. Then as the season went along, he started dropping his handle more and started being more of a power hitter. So I think that may have also contributed to him um, maybe not hitting balls out of the park earlier in the season, because maybe that wasn't his role at that point. And
Yeah.
then just something, again, that's pure speculation and just trying to read into things that you see, but that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And there were times this year where he has swung the bat very well, as is last night with 2 home runs. So yeah, and the guy's got it out this year with injuries, so you can't
Yeah.
be too upset with how he has played this year.
He's playing on a bum ankle, isn't he?
He is, and
Okay.
I watch him run, and I'm thinking there's got to be some other stuff there, because that ankle should be a little bit better by this point. But
Yeah.
again, as far as Wimmer, I think he's probably the most talented guy on the team.
Yeah.
But
I agree with you there.
but it's that showing up every day.
Yeah.
There are some at bats he looks just like an absolute monster up there, and he's grinding down pitchers, and he's working for his pitch. There are other times, and they tend to happen in the clutch, it seems like, where he's watching strike 3 go down the middle.
Yeah.
And
What?
that's just that can go into a bigger issue I have with Kingston's recruiting that he does, but
Yeah.
Wimmer to me plays like a showcase guy, to where
Yeah.
he can look good, he's got good exit velocity, all that stuff that they look at now. But what's your makeup in the bottom of the 7th, down 2 runs, and you have a guy on second? Can you get a hit then? And it may just be confirmation bias on my part, but I don't. When he comes up in the clutch, that's not who I want.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I want Colin Burgess at the plate in the clutch,
Okay.
because
I
that
like
seems to be the guy that can at least get a single when you need to get a run in, when it matters.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
granted, he's a 200 hitter, so
Yeah. That's true too.
but
I'm shocked with the Burgess. I thought you were going to say Belk there.
Belk when he's not injured.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of forgot about Brant Belk, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
But
Love
that's
that.
another guy. Belk, I thought, has played very well the last 2 months of the season, especially
Oh,
the last 2. Moving him to leadoff, I think, has been, again, to be fair to Kingston, that was a smart move to move him to leadoff.
yeah. He's
Um,
productive. I honestly think he's been the most consistent.
yeah,
Yeah, most
yeah,
consistent.
yeah, he has. I can agree to that. Tell you what, one guy that is you really hurt for is Andrew Eister, though. I mean, the guy has
Yeah.
put up decent amount of home runs. I think he's got 50 RBIs this year,
Somewhere in that range. Yeah.
and that is, when you hear that, you're thinking, "Oh, this guy's been your major run producer," and he has, but
Yeah.
he needed another guy with him to protect him in that lineup, and
He didn't have it.
no, he didn't. And also, his average is kind of the average. I guess he kind of tried to fill the Wes Clark role this year, low average but high slugging percentage. And I think it worked pretty well. But again, it's getting those hits in the key moment just did not happen this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it was tough. It was. This is like I said, the 2019 season. You said was the worst by. So you're comparing that to the conference record, right? You said we had a
Um,
worse conference record then.
and this team was also that team was 28-28, so 500 overall as well.
Uh,
But
okay,
so
gotcha.
I think this team got to 27-27 this year.
Yeah, 27,
So
27. So
but yeah, when it comes to in conference play, that 2019 was worse.
okay,
That team won one series the entire year, and that was against Kentucky.
that's just
This,
sad.
this year's team actually won a few series. So
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We did. Shockingly, we did.
yeah,
Another player I want to talk about real quick, Michael Braswell. Obviously started off hot
yeah,
beginning of the season. And then we got into SEC play and things just changed,
yeah.
completely.
Uh, for him, I think it was just going against that higher level pitching.
Okay.
I know he comes from the Georgia area where they have a near elite travel league system over there.
Okay.
Um, but again, also scouting reports get out and other teams start figuring it out. But the last month in the season, he's played better. So, and
Yes, 100%.
he was also a guy that in an ideal situation, you're not going to count on him to be a major threat in your lineup is at this point in his career.
Yeah.
If he does well, you take it. But if not, there's usually other bats there to compensate. But this year's team, again, didn't have it. And then that kind of magnifies any weaknesses he has in his game at this point in his career.
Yeah.
But again, he's a guy that I think once he gets a full year in a weight program, can get a little more, and gets a year of just
Up a
conditioning
little
in this.
bit. Yeah.
Gets a year of conditioning. I think you will see exponential gains with him for a sophomore season, at least hopefully.
Yeah. Obviously, I was very, very high on him in the beginning of the season. I
I
did
saw
have a
I saw
tweet.
many times.
Yeah, did have a tweet that said that he's one of the greatest freshmen in South Carolina history, and I definitely bit the bullet on that one. But like I said, I still feel he has a bright future at South Carolina. Like you said, he get in the weight room, conditioning, come back next season, and let's see what he can do. I mean, defensively, he's solid. 100. I believe.
Yeah, he's there are throws that he made this year that not many guys can make.
Yeah.
The problem with is like you have with most freshman shortstops is they can make the amazing play, but when it comes to the routine one,
Yeah.
that's almost 50-50 at times with
Yeah.
shortstop
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But then again, you also have a guy like Wimmer in the field who can make amazing plays, but then he'll also sail one into the fifth row.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good. I like the way you put that earlier with Wimmer, how he's a showcase guy. I like that because I mean that makes sense. That makes total sense. He's got all the measurables. He looks good, but do you want him at the bottom of the seventh, like you said, with two runners on in a clutch situation?
And that's not just a dog on Wimmer. That's a lot of guys on
Yeah.
Kingston's team throughout the season
Okay.
because they put an emphasis on going to these showcase camps where, you know, they're looking at your measurables, your exit velocity on your hits, your spin rate as a pitcher and all that, but they don't really go to the high school games where you see a guy in the mess where, he may be in a rough situation. How does he get out of it?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of baseball, I think, that gets lost in the analytics of it all.
Gotcha. Okay. Here's the topic that I've been waiting to talk about here. Kingston's future. What do you? Okay, so I'll put a scenario out here for you. We get to the SEC tournament.
Mhm.
We play Florida Tuesday. We get I don't know. We lose. I don't know 5-1, something like that. Do
Mhm.
you see us retaining him for next season?
If we look at it under this condition, which I'll get to my answer in just a second, but
Okay.
because I know everyone wants to say that it's year 5, and this is me being probably too fair to him, but do we really want to count the COVID year against him? Because no one made the tournament that year. So really, when you look at it, this is almost year 4.
Yeah,
4
we
plus.
played 12 games, I think, that COVID season, right? Something like 12,
Uh,
10, 12 games, roughly.
16, they went 12-4.
There you go.
So I'm almost counting this now, and I'm trying to think how Ray Tanner is going to see it. Tanner's probably going to see this as a year 4 plus, where that COVID year does not count. And if you look under that perspective, barring an absolute miracle run in the SEC tournament, Kingston is, in 4 years, he's gone to the tournament twice. Now, again, that's not Ray Tanner numbers where you went every year. But from where this program was, and with all the injuries and the deficiencies on this team, I think he probably gets one more year.
I think he gets one more year. People
It's
were saying,
it's an absolute show me year because if he doesn't make the tournament next year, then yes, he is definitely gone.
definitely. Okay.
I think he should be gone after this year, but I'm trying to think it from an AD standpoint. You're technically in year 4. You just had a giant basketball coach buyout. It's going to be hard to take another buyout to the board, especially after a third major buyout in 3 years from a major sports coach.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to sell.
Okay. I can see that. I don't even know how to say this. Just watching these games this year, some of the coaching bonehead mistakes that our coaching staff made, I'm just sitting there just like, guys, what are we doing here? What are y'all doing? Like, just some of the calls,
Yeah.
I wasn't really on the Fire Kingston train till mid-season. It took me a while, actually, because I was just like, you know what? It's baseball. We'll come around here soon. We'll be fine. But then we just kept losing and losing. And I don't know. I just was just like, okay, I'm over this Kingston era. But I can totally understand where you're coming from. Looking at it from an AD's perspective, because yes, the COVID year shouldn't count. So this is year 4, really. But yeah, I don't know. We just have to come with a completely different approach next season. We do have a lot of guys leaving. Those pitchers that we were talking about earlier. Let's see who's leaving out of those guys. Wines is leaving, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure. I think Gilreath has exhausted his eligibility.
Becker?
I think Coyne is also gone. Tringali, I think, is also gone.
And I believe Esposito is gone as well.
He might have an extra COVID year left, but with his lack of production, I won't be surprised if he's encouraged to transfer somewhere else for playing time. And that's another thing to consider is that, how many guys are going to transfer out this year? Because that has been one of the revolving problems with Kingston is that, he gets these young quality players in and then they're gone in a year. So, you also have guys that are draft eligible who, again, have to wait and see with that. I think Wimmer is draft eligible, and I will not be surprised if he gets a pretty decent draft. I will say the recruiting class that he has built so far looks pretty good from a pitching standpoint.
Okay.
From a standpoint, that's take it or leave it. And again, he has a transfer portal. That's the thing with baseball now is that you can flip a team. You can flip a team pretty quick in baseball now with the portal. So, there needs to be some better player identification, better development. And then also, like you said, just some in-game strategy needs to drastically improve. Can I get everyone to agree with me that we need to stop running pitchers over 100 pitches, wait for the bases to get loaded, and then start roaming a guy up?
Oh, God.
How many times do we see that this year?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I didn't have that in my notes, by the way, but that was also something that killed me this year. Killed me watching that. Uh,
I'm sitting there going like, all right, this guy's at 90 pitches now. We should probably be warming someone up. We're in the 7th. He's not going a complete game. Okay. He's at 100. Is anyone warming up? No. Okay. Now the bases are loaded. Oh, good. Someone's warming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, we're going to bring a reliever into a bases loaded situation. That's not helping him.
No, that's not helping you at all.
That is setting a guy up for failure.
Yeah, no, exactly. 100% there. Okay, so we talked about Kingston. We talked about the season recap. Let's talk about these postseason chances we have here. Like I mentioned, guys, South Carolina has entered the SEC tournament as the 10th seed. We will be playing Florida Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and a win or go home. We got Sanders on the mound. We're going to give them all we got. Are the best of the best. So, what do you think? What do you think about the outcome of that game?
Again, like we said with Justin Parker, smart decision to not run Will deep last night.
Agree.
So you are putting your best arm on the mound. That is about the best you can do. If he can give you 7 innings, and then, if Austin and maybe another reliever can come in and have a good game, you have a good shot, at least from a pitching standpoint, to advance. But your offense has got to do something.
Agreed.
And traditionally, Carolina does not play well offensively at Hoover.
No.
Never have, whatever reason.
Not too well in Hoover, that's for sure.
The gorilla ball style does not work at that park.
Yes.
Fortunately for in the past, it didn't matter. And I firmly believe that Tanner threw the SEC tournament pretty much every year because he didn't need it.
No, exactly. This is the first year. Okay, wait. So in 2019, did we? No, we didn't qualify, did we?
I don't believe they did.
No,
I don't see how going. I don't see how going 8-22 gets you in unless Missouri was just that awful.
No, yeah. What was I? Oh, yeah. Going back to what I was saying, it's just like, we need the SEC tournament this year to propel to the big tournament. So,
but to answer your question, if the offense that showed up Saturday shows up Tuesday, and you get a good outing from Sanders, I like your chances. Now, the next game is against Texas A&M. I do not like your chances in that one at all. I think Texas A&M showed earlier this year that they are just at a different level.
Okay.
Especially offensively.
Oh, offensively for sure.
Now they're pitching, their pitching's average, but you got to keep up with them. And this team is not built for high-scoring games consistently.
No, not at all. That series, going back to that Texas A&M series, being up. Okay, so Friday night get killed 16-4. Understood we were out of that game completely.
Yeah,
but to be up 9-0 in game 2 and to blow that lead, I lost it. I was in my living room and completely lost it because we won Sunday. We could have taken that series from them.
Yeah,
but
they could have.
It is what it is, I mean, I'm just glad we at least made the tournament. We can try to make a little small run, see what we can do. We're at 13 wins in the conference. What would you say? We need 15 or 16 to get us in the NCAA tournament.
I know all the experts have been saying 15.
Okay.
I'd like to see you get to 16 to make sure there's no doubt.
Okay.
But again, it also depends on how the rest of the tournament goes. And, 15 might get you in as like a 3 or a 4 seed at a regional. And at this point, that's all you can ask for. Is just if you get in, be happy and try.
Exactly. I would be ecstatic if we got in to a regional somewhere.
Yeah.
I
If
don't
this
care
team is
where.
able to get into a regional, then I'd almost say Mark Kingston's leash or his seat is not quite as hot heading into next season.
Okay.
But
Agreed.
he's still next season is playoff or bust.
Yes.
And I would almost argue that if this team is able to make a regional, next year it's super regional or bust.
Okay.
Because you got to go.
Yeah.
That would
No.
have been it's going to be one time in 4 years, and if you don't make it next year, that's one in 5 years. That is not acceptable.
Yeah. It's South
If
Carolina.
if Chad Holbrook got fired, making 2 super regionals in 5 years, you make 1 in 6, you got to go.
Yeah. Agreed. I totally agree with you there. So, but Lake, thank you so much for joining me, man. Had so much fun on this episode.
Yeah, same here.
Definitely gonna have you on again. Okay, so you follow football as much as you follow baseball for the most part.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This is outside of my few pro teams. This is my team. So
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Well, come football season, man, I'm probably gonna have you on an episode or two if you're down with doing that.
can't wait.
Yeah. All right, man. Lake, again, thank you for joining, man. Have a good one. Go
Thank you
Cox.
for having me.